Today, Senator Alex Padilla is forcibly removed from DHS Secretary Kristi Noem's news conference in Los Angeles. Apparently, he kind of rushed the news conference, and I'm not sure if it was Secret Service or DHS agents that stepped in, but he was actually taken out of the room, and they locked him up a little bit. I think he was in handcuffs for a little bit, so we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about some of these groups that are funding the LA anti-ICE protests, which are actually going to be taking off across the country. But there are multiple groups that are sending money, sending supplies. People have seen masks turn up. Allegedly, there are new developments of pallets of bricks and stuff. I'm not so sure about how the validity of those claims, but that's one of the things that you're hearing. And Antifa anarchist blogs post claim of responsibility for torching NYPD vehicles in Brooklyn. This is definitely a continuation of the violence that we saw in the riots during 2020. It's the same type of people, even if it's not the actual same people. So we're going to get into the odds and ends of that. Donald Trump has made a statement that he supports amnesty, and then a little bit later he walked it back. He made a post on Truth Social walking it back. So we'll see if we can figure out where Donald Trump stands. Does he want the farmers to stay? Does he want the farmers to go? What's the deal? Mediaite was reporting that Trump cancels work permits for over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. So they're continuing to do the things necessary to control the border and control the immigration influx. So we'll talk about that. What else do we got on here? We've got someone talking about how much they'd rather live next door to MS-13 than to MAGA morons, so we can dunk on them. And then if we get to it, in the after show, I think is where we're going to talk about it. Stuff about submarines and deep water. But first, we need you to head on over to castbrew.com and buy some coffee. All right. I don't think we have the Primetime with Alex Stein anymore. I'm not sure. Primetime Grind is out. Maybe it's out. Anyways, but we've got K-Cups. We got Appalachian Nights K-Cups. We've got Ian's Graphene Dream K-Cups. We've got Ian's Graphene Dream, which is the top seller. You can get yourself some Focus with Mr. Bocus, I think, still. And Appalachian Nights, or maybe a little bit of Sleepy Joe. But head on over to Cast Brew Coffee. And then after you do that, head on over to timcast.com and join our Discord. Become a member and then join our Discord. And then you can call in and talk to our guests and us in the after show. You can get to know other podcasts that are happening in the Discord. There's pre-shows, there's post-shows. You can meet like-minded people. So head on over to the Discord and become a member. You also want to become a member at rumble.com. Rumble.com will give you access to the after show. It gives you access to the green room, which is filmed before the show. Lots of great stuff. So head on over to rumble.com and become a member there. But joining us to talk about all these things tonight is Charlie LeDuff. How you doing, sir?
I'm well, man. How are you?
Who are you? What do you do?
I'm a reporter. I work for the Michigan Enjoyer. It's politics and lifestyle in Michigan. Won a Pulitzer Prize at the New York Times, wrote a couple bestsellers. I worked for Fox, national correspondent. I've been through 1 million riots. I crossed the desert with the Sinaloa cartel in the year 2000. In 2023, I crossed the Rio Grande with an ex-con from Nicaragua named Elvis,
Nice.
who had 15 pesos to a name and he couldn't swim.
Oh, well, all right. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. And also, we've got Aaron Wright, who is running to be the AG of Texas.
Yeah, that's
right. Introduce
right.
yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, so this morning I announced that I am running for Texas Attorney General to succeed the great Ken Paxton. But before then, I was a presidentially appointed official at the Justice Department, Ted Cruz's chief of staff for a couple years, Paxton's deputy for a couple years, was a Marine officer, went to Afghanistan once, before law school, married, 4 kids, happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we
Good
appreciate
life right
that.
there.
It's a good life. Wow.
Mary's here.
Not the best haircut, but, good life.
Mary Morgan is here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Mary Morgan, and you can usually find me on Pop Culture Crisis here at Timcast. I'm happy to be here.
All right. So let's get right into it. NBC News reports that
Where's Tim?
Tim is out sick. Yeah, I'm here. Oh, you're gonna wear the beanie? There you go. So, anyways, yeah. Tim didn't do his daytime show today, and he didn't do. He's not doing nothing. I think he's getting sick. I'm not sure if he's going to be back tomorrow either, but we'll see. Anyways, NBC News reports Senator Alex Padilla, Democrat from California, was forcibly removed from a news conference in Los Angeles on Thursday after he tried to question Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem during a news conference related to immigration. "I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary," Padilla said to Noem, which prompted several men dressed in plain clothes to physically push him out of the room. A top FBI official later said Bureau personnel and Secret Service agents were involved in the senator's removal. Padilla's office shared a video of the incident with NBC News. The video shows Padilla being taken into a hallway outside and pushed face forward to the ground as officers with FBI identifying vests told the senator to put his hands behind his back. The officers then handcuffed him. So, what do you guys think? Should we handcuff more senators? Pardon me? Oh, we got video. Okay.
Oh, I want to see this.
Yeah, let's see how legit was
Hood
this.
rat fights.
Guys, ready? And balancing. Sir, hands up.
What?
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is,
Okay, he didn't say that
a
right
dozen
away.
violent criminals that you're rotating on your. Hands off.
Okay, whoa, you just... With everything going on in L.A., some guy runs into a room like that, and I'm a senator, like, what,
Yeah.
what are you expect?
Hands behind your back. Hands behind your back.
If you let my hands, my friend behind my
I'm
back.
sorry.
Hands in one hand. Lay flat.
Stop
Lay flat.
resisting.
Other hand, sir. Other hand.
Is he charged with anything?
No, if I understand
He
correctly,
just got detained.
he's not charged with anything. They let him go once they found out who he was and what the situation was. The Democrats on the Hill are acting like this is the end of the world.
Right.
This is the nightmare scenario that Donald Trump has brought to the United States and the terrible authoritarian regime he is installing.
The way that it was put earlier today was that he lunged at her. So I didn't see that part of the video unless
I saw
they...
it. No, I mean he was.
Was he coming
pushed back,
at
and
her?
Then you saw him. And by the way, Padilla. When I was Senator Cruz's chief of staff, I had to interact with him and several times. He's a big guy. I say he's probably 6'3". I'd bet 230 pounds.
Looks it.
Yeah, I mean he's a big guy, and you could see him as the I don't know if it was Secret Service or whatever her personal security detail was. They were trying to gesture, hey, you got to come back, and you saw him push his chest up against them. So look, here's a grandstanding liberal Democratic senator trying to go viral, who is bursting into a press conference and getting the result that anybody in his situation, whether he was Senator Padilla or just Alex, anybody doing some antics like that would have gotten that result.
No,
You'd expect antics like that from Congress.
You would or wouldn't?
I would.
Yes, of course. That's what I'm saying.
They're
Well, I've
after
been in
the
plenty
viral
of press
moments.
conferences, and you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed, and bum rush, lunge, whatever, you barged in there, you started yelling, you didn't say who you weren't wearing your Senate pin, They pushed you back, you pushed forward again. Okay, so maybe you're like a homeless nut. You're going into the hallway, right? And you're going to be removed. Now, if you want to do some criticism, maybe they had to put him to the ground. You could have just cuffed him right there, calmed him down, right? But because you're a United States Senator, you get no special right.
Yep.
You behave like we behave. And I'm incensed because I used to live in L.A. and I love it. It gave me my first child. It gave me my first home. Nobody in charge in California has said, take care of each other. Don't burn anything. Do it peacefully. Nothing. It's all of this.
Yeah. Look, I don't give Senator Padilla any credit here. I mean, even if he were wearing his Senate pin and announced himself as, "Hi, I'm Senator Alex Padilla," it doesn't entitle you to burst into a cabinet secretary's press conference. And by the way, when he went out into the hallway, he knew exactly what he was doing. You could see it if you replay the clip again. He got on his knees. He wanted there to be that scene.
Yeah, he threw himself on the floor.
he
You
did.
could see him in the video doing it. They didn't push him down. It's like, you know, when you pretend to slip when they don't put down the wet floor
Yeah.
sign.
Right. And you can see the picture on the left there, they're trying to get his arms behind his back. He's actually resisting that. And so the only way that you can get his arms behind his back is you got to bring him to the floor.
Oh, by the way, so the Homeland Security director is in L.A. when they're expecting it's been a wild week and it's going to be a wild weekend. And a guy comes up like that. Well, what do you think is going to he knows what was going to happen.
To that point, not only that, but you had 2 attempts on Donald Trump's life.
Yeah.
You've had multiple people that were committing arson and committing all number of crimes that were related to people for having Teslas because they had the wrong politics. The left has been targeting people for clearly and openly for the better part of a year now.
That's right.
It's been unambiguous.
Yes.
So to think that, hey, we need to have a little extra security because people are trying to, throw their weight around inside a DHS news conference, that's not unusual or some kind of odd expectation.
I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, it's completely reasonable to say, okay, we're not going to let you approach the elected officials who happen to share the same political ideology or political party of the people that have been attacked historically for the past, year, pretty open.
And if I might, afterwards he gives a little press conference.
Yep.
Saw somewhere out on the steps of the federal building there, and he says, well, I was in the same building and I heard she was giving a press conference, and since I'm not getting any information, I thought I would go and listen to see if I could pick up a few clues here. But did that look like a guy that walked into a room to quietly listen?
No.
Maybe stand against the wall, wave to her afterwards and said, madam, can I get a moment of your time kind of thing?
No.
So I'm not buying
to your point, it is well within the realm of possibility, given the era that we're in right now, that the left is willing and able at the drop of a hat to use violence to push their ideological agenda. It is not safe to assume that conservatives necessarily are going to do that, but today's left, BLM, the sort of riot, the anti-ICE riots now, the threats against the president, the constant threats online against people in this administration, it is not unreasonable to assume that somebody busting in to take out the Secretary of Homeland Security is going to try to propagate violence.
Yeah, so NBC News went on to say President Donald Trump's immigration policies and the administration's handling of demonstrations against those policies have sparked an outcry in recent days. After protesters clashed with officers from Immigration and Customs Enforcement in Los Angeles on Friday, the president deployed members of the National Guard and later Marines to assist local law enforcement. Dozens of demonstrations have taken place across the country in the days that followed. Speaking to reporters later Thursday, Padilla said that he was receiving a briefing from military officials when he learned Noam was in the same building and decided to join her briefing.
Oh, of course. So this is a grandstanding Democratic senator who's like, wait a second, I could go viral here. I'm going to go do something stupid. Mm-hmm. And I mean, mission accomplished in a way. He did do something stupid.
Yeah, I mean,
talking about him.
I mean, I don't know that I consider it stupid. I think it's pretty predictable, and also, it's emblematic of the times that we live in, where everyone wants that viral clip.
Totally
Look at
right.
the bad journalism there.
Pardon me?
Look at the bad journalism. Padilla said he was receiving a briefing from military officials. Okay, he wanted answers. He's talking to the military. When he learned Noam was in the same building and decided to join her briefing. I was there peacefully, he said. Mm-hmm. I didn't see that on the clip.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. He was definitely trying to use, throw his weight around.
It's bullshit.
The first union address that Trump gave, and who was it that started yelling and causing a huge scene in the
I don't know who it was, but that's actually happened more time than once.
Oh, you're talking about the State of the Union?
Congressman Kane, the guy with the cane.
With the cane, he was shaking the cane. Yes, Green.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Exactly
Al Green.
He disrupted an
the
official
hysterics and the melodrama,
Totally
and he
man,
was
he can
given
sing.
way too many chances before getting thrown out of there.
Totally right. Totally right.
Yeah, I mean, and it does show that the reaction by Speaker Johnson to not actually do anything was definitely, kind of left a bad taste in my mouth because
Against Green?
Yeah.
Well, he was eventually. I mean, it led to Mary's point. I mean, he went for way too long, but I think he was eventually.
Well, they adjourned. Yeah, they adjourned because he wouldn't shut up.
Well, all I could tell you is, as a swing voter in a swing state, me, this ain't doing it for me. It's not. If this is the strategy. I can't. I used to never belong to the Democratic Party, but when you're from Detroit, that's how you think.
Sure.
I never moved. Where did these people go? I love this country.
Well, that's the thing nowadays, at least presently, the people that are protesting and rioting, they're not Democrats that love this country. They're progressives that see only the flaws in the United States.
Does that shit look like progress to you, man?
No, not
How
at
do you
all.
get to be called a progressive
Of course not.
when it's burning it up?
Yeah, it's they believe that the destruction of the existing system is necessary for the new system to exist.
That's right.
But I think we're going to we got some breaking news right now. Nick Sorter is reporting that explosions are heard in Tehran, Iran, per Wall Street Journal. Nick says, it seems it has begun. Pray for America, pray for our troops, which is great. I love the sentiment, but this should not be the United States carrying out these attacks. And if I understand correctly, it is not the United States. So
What's good old Nick reporting, or is he reporting somebody else's reporting?
I think he's reporting someone else's report.
I stay away from it because I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
Now, this guy's saying is Israel attacks Iran?
Yeah, Israel attacks Iran. Visuals from Tehran. We've got some video here.
Yeah.
What's up? Oh, okay. All right. So,
Well, that could
Just
have been
those.
from the last time.
yeah, I'm
I'm gonna
don't
keep
know.
calm. I don't know any. I'm gonna keep calm. I'm gonna wait.
well, I mean, there's
No,
But
we're
it
all
is
gonna
a-
die.
eventually.
That is true.
Sorry, I'm laughing at. I don't
Yeah,
know
look,
what's really going
I hope that I'll withhold judgment until we see what's going on. But I hope that the United States doesn't get plunged into another Mideast war. I mean, I went to Afghanistan as a Marine. I remember, 9/11 happened when I was a freshman in high school, and it shaped like that whole teen and 20 years. And I went to Afghanistan. I remember totally sold on the mission. We got to go get the bad guys. They're going to come here to get us. I mean, it was a true believer. And then you get to Afghanistan and you're like, oh my gosh, this is never going to be, it doesn't matter how many, Dari or Pashtun constitutions we print. This ain't going to stick. It ain't going to take root. And I hope that.
I went to Iraq, dude, and it was with the Marines, 24th. There ain't no weapons of mass destruction here. Hey, Colonel, there's no weapons here. We've been told we're here to impart democracy. I'm like, oh no.
You can't make people want something. It's the whole, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Well, you better get it right before you start sending my brother over here. You see what I'm saying?
I completely agree with you. But that was the failing of the the first 10 years of this century. The Bush administration's assertions that actually they're just like us, and we can just show them democracy, and they will obviously decide that they want Jeffersonian Republican government. And
That's crazy. I'm not even fully convinced I want those.
Yeah, right.
But they only said that after we were there. That wasn't the reason.
No, I don't know. That was very much sort of the neoconservative thinking at the time. It's that, look, there are sort of universal political values that are shared across time, culture, and space, and that there are regimes that from time to time and place to place will oppress those natural instincts. And so we need to topple those regimes to then let freedom breathe.
Yeah.
And I think that philosophy,
that's an error.
it is a total error.
Completely. Let's remember, though, that's not, well, I watched the planes hit the Twin Towers, and I covered the Ground Zero for a year. The action to send my cousin, me, you, the way they sold it to us was not about selling democracy. It was like, those fuckers hit us, go get that guy, and then some more BS about they were also involved.
Well, my biggest memory of the Iraq War and the justification for it and stuff was all about weapons of mass destruction. It was all about the nuclear threat that Saddam Hussein would pose to the United States, and the possibility of not just a dirty bomb, but an actual functioning nuclear weapon in a port city here in the U.S. That was the argument that was made that I heard most frequently.
But there was the tie to Al Qaeda.
Oh yeah.
Well, look, there was that whole time. There was also a tremendous amount of mission creep, during this time,
exactly.
right? So 9/11 happens. Okay, who did it? Al Qaeda. Those are bad guys, right? No question, bad guys.
No question.
All right, who's harboring them? Well, there's this political party in Afghanistan called the Taliban. So the Taliban is the ruling party of a regime that is harboring the bad guys. So we're going to go and get the bad guys. But then it creeped into, well, if you break it, you buy it.
Yep.
So we're here breaking things. Well, I guess the moral thing to do is to sort of, we're going to blow you up and then we're going to rebuild you. And then Iraq creeped in because people had been salivating over toppling the Saddam Hussein regime for decades. Now you had the pretext where Americans' eyes are now oriented toward the Middle East. Now's the time for Saddam Hussein to go down. So why don't we start a second war in Iraq? And then it just spiraled. And what kept it going for that whole time was a philosophy of regime change, which we've sort of already articulated, which is that these people want freedom. The bad guys don't hate our freedoms, so let's take out the bad guys that hate our freedoms.
And then we'll be safe, and then the people of whatever country they're making the argument for will, democracy will blossom, and that will.
So here's what happened for 20 years is, in fact, what we'll do is they hate our guts. We're going to pay them through USAID. We're going to build a water treatment plant in Fallujah that never gets built. And when you're over there, right, you run out of cigarettes or chewing tobacco, who do you got to go to get cigarettes? It's the guy in the white robe who's got dough and American tobacco. And you're like...
But I think that what's encouraging, though, is one of the things that propelled President Trump to the national stage. First back in 2015-16, and then again again in 2020, there were some issues there. And then in 2024 was a rejection of this philosophy.
Yes.
Right? It was a failed experiment for the better part of 30 years or 20 years. And it was a rejection of that. So part of why I hate to see this is not only because I just, war is not the best thing. It's necessary sometimes, but it's not the best. But I don't want to see Americans forget the lessons that we've learned in Iraq and Afghanistan.
I am surprised, and admittedly, I don't follow geopolitics at all. But the last I heard, and tell me if I'm wrong, the U.S. had a proposal, a sort of compromise, that they would take their uranium enrichment off of their own land. And as far as I had last checked into it, they had not even replied to that proposal yet.
Talking about
Iran had not?
Iran, yes. Yeah. They had not even replied formally to that proposal yet. When this happened,
yes,
I thought at least that Israel would have waited until there was a formal rejection of the U.S.'s proposal to them.
I don't know.
Which wasn't
Wouldn't
even a
it be
guarantee.
nice?
They might have taken it.
Right.
As I said at the start of this segment, I don't know, and I was a younger man when I didn't know, and I just followed.
Yeah.
I'm a wiser man. I don't know. It's a good question you ask. Maybe Israel has intelligence that Iran sped it up. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that video's true. I don't know why the bombs went off, but as a wiser guy, I'm coming at it with caution.
We've got this tweet from Barak Ravid? Yeah. Breaking: Israeli Minister of Defense Israel Katz declares a special state of emergency in the home front throughout the entire state of Israel. Following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future, Katz said. I think that kind of goes without saying. And if I understand correctly, the opinion is that the response from Iran is not going to be it's not going to be small. It's going to be, you're going to probably see hundreds of missiles shot at Israel. I think that Israel does not expect the Iron Dome to be able to handle the volume.
And what we see, again, assuming this is true, it seems to me, what stands out to me is that the Israeli defense minister did in fact confirm this was a preemptive strike.
Yeah, and that's what they've been doing for a long time. The 6-Day War, they did it. They're kind of like let's say the leading experts on these preemptive strikes and taking care of something before it even is a problem for you. Yeah. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen with all this.
What did they strike?
That hasn't been said yet.
Yeah.
I've been trying to get information as soon as we went live, this is kind of when we started getting reports about 8 o'clock exactly. So we had to run the whole first segment first before we got to this too. But all the information you have now is what we have.
Yeah,
All AI.
It's all AI.
Just kidding.
It's all AI.
Has anybody in the Trump administration put out a statement? We haven't seen anything yet.
Not that I'm aware.
I'd be curious if during the course of this show, if something comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I would not be surprised if some kind of
Surely there's got to
statement.
be something.
Yeah, because what was I going to ask a question. So yeah, I don't see how the U.S. has to get drawn into this. I do think that Israel could have waited, but I still don't see how the U.S. has to be involved.
Well, those are two different questions. Your second question, I think, is an interesting one, which is I don't see why the U.S. should get involved. But your first question was I don't see how it could get involved. And those are slightly different because what's still happening to this day in 2025 is you've got, even on the right, you have a huge philosophical difference on an approach to geopolitics. I mean, there's the sort of neocon view, and then there's the more realist or people call it isolationist view. And it's not particularly clear who within the Defense Department or the national security apparatus, which one controls, which one prevails. And I think ultimately the president as the commander-in-chief has got to make the decision. My sense is that President Trump's inclination is to let the situation develop before he commits any troops. I think President Trump has consistently run on foreign policy prudence, foreign policy restraint, and realism. And I think his first instinct is your instinct, which is like, I don't want to immediately mobilize the troops. This isn't the Bush era
Troops is a
anymore.
big leap. We're involved right now. We're involved with intelligence, armament.
So go ahead. Actually, please expand on that. You think that the U.S. is providing intel, and you think that the U.S. is providing them weapons.
And we provide them money. I mean, these are just facts that we know that have been going on for years.
So you're talking about the more broad issue
There's
of
the
foreign aid to Israel.
Yeah, there's that we know.
Yes.
Right
Yes.
now, just dumping troops in there. I don't know about that, right? But the world already knows this. So let's bring it around back to the border. Who did we let in? Are there Iranian cells here? Is there a way to?
I don't think that. I think the question is almost a guaranteed yes. That there are people, that there are Iranians here. I don't know that they're state sponsored, but there are Iranians here that don't look positively on the U.S. I think that's a fairly safe assumption.
And there was no mechanism or political will to vet anybody over the past 4 years anyway.
So that's the worry. The short-term worry. Short-term.
Sure.
So what have we got here?
Yeah, we have a couple more things. Kellen sent me this with the Home Front Command. It seems like they're sending this out to people in Israel right now, which is basically saying to adhere to the Home Front Command guidelines, which you'd expect to see in something like this. And then we also have these commercial flights from Osen Defender here showing how the commercial flights have been rerouted around Tel Aviv and then also around Tehran. So we don't really know necessarily where everything's being struck, but judging by these two, I guess, pieces of information,
They're expecting the
What's
retaliation.
that? What is Osen Defender? The first one was
Osen Defender is an X page. Yeah, shout out Osen Defender.
And the first one was the Israeli government, so that's an official.
Correct. This is what they posted out to everyone that's in the.
Well, it's on anyway.
Yeah, well, definitely.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is anything good going on, man?
Not today.
Yes, my name's Aaron Wright, and I'm running for Texas Attorney General. You can go to aaronwrights.com. That's the great news today. Texans can have hope that the next Attorney General is going to be a champion for liberty and justice in the Lone Star State.
Aaron settling right in.
We got it in.
So Ken Paxton, who is currently the AG, right? He's running for which seat is he going to be
The
running?
United States Senate. So John, he's jumped into the Republican primary to primary John Cornyn.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah. So Ken Paxton has been the Texas AG for 3 terms, or so 4-year terms, right? It's been just over a decade for him, and Paxton has taken what 15 years ago. State AGs, nobody was really talking about like state AGs, in the same way that they don't talk really about state treasurers or state ag.
Well, I mean, AGs nowadays actually it kind of does matter.
It matters. That's what I'm saying.
Impact now,
but that evolution from AGs kind of being like a B team state office holders, guys who want to be the next governor, or that's why they call AG like aspiring governor, because they're just sitting there and waiting to go be the next one. But it was guys like Paxton and very few others who sort of wielded their constitutional powers to make a state AG something that's really a national force. And so, yeah, I'm running for Texas AG, but folks need to understand, and your national audience needs to understand, that if you don't get a good state AG in Texas who presides over the largest Republican law firm in the country by orders of magnitude, you're missing out on an opportunity to really advance the ball for law and order, for justice, for the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. So Paxton is the one that turned it up a notch. He turned it up to 11 and is now running for the Senate. So now the seat's open, and I've jumped in.
Awesome. We actually just got this update. What was that? Yeah, so we just actually got this update from Alana Treen. Donald Trump is convening a cabinet-level meeting as Israel launched what it called preemptive strikes against Iran. A White House official and two sources familiar with the plans told her and Kylie Atwood. The meeting was planned before the strike, the sources say.
Who is she? Alana Treen.
Hold on one second.
I got to check, man. I've been
White House reporter for CNN.
Oh.
So
Let me read the. Let's see.
What was that?
She updated just below it.
The meeting was expected to focus on the U.S. response to the developing events in Iran. Two of the sources said Trump was seen leaving the congressional picnic at the White House shortly after 8 p.m. The White House declined to comment. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I still can't. I can't imagine how the United States, benefits from being involved in this. I know that the argument that people say is like Israel's our greatest ally or whatever. We need to support Israel because they're surrounded by enemies and they're a democracy in the Middle East and then yada yada yada. But I still don't see why the United States needs to be involved when honestly, it's my opinion that Israel has more than enough technological capability to handle Iran themselves.
Yeah, look, Israel is a critical ally of ours. I think we just need to let the situation develop a little bit. If the president determines that critical American national interests are are at risk of non-intervention, then maybe intervention is the way to go. But I think that what President Trump is going to expect if we do get more involved, and to your point, like there's a sense in which we're already involved because we do provide military aid to our ally Israel, but President Trump, I think, I anticipate that he would, if we do get more involved, be able to articulate a vital national security interest that is more concrete than the basis for the wars that we went to over the past 20 years.
No, Saudi Arabia's there too.
Yeah, I mean, Saudi Arabia has way more concern about what Iran's doing than the
also
US does.
a client/business partner of ours. Remember when the Iranians blew up their pipelines?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so, there was a big party there a couple weeks ago. I don't know, man. But it's not my ballywig, but just my mind's running, right? Okay, so if we put troops over there, we got troops in L.A. tonight, right?
Yeah, I mean, technically, yes, we do.
So just to go back around there,
2000.
just back to the riots and whatever, people are so dumb. The Democrats are really dumb because I'm from Detroit. In the 67 riots, the 81st and the 82nd and the 101st Airborne were in Detroit. In 1943, six battalions came in to stop the riots. In the Civil War in 1863, the United States Army was there. Mm-hmm. So Detroit has the great history of being the only United States city to be occupied by the United States military 3 times. So this isn't unheard of. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Gavin Newsom's tweeting it.
Yeah.
It's outrageous.
I mean,
unconstitutional. It's not.
No. In fact, the Trump administration has been well within its rights, within the legal boundaries set up in the Constitution and stuff. As of right now, the military is there, and all they're doing is drawing security for the federal agents, your ICE agents and DHS and stuff, so they can carry out their duties. But otherwise, they're not doing the police work. Like the military is not
entitled to.
Well, I mean,
precedent for it.
So I assume there is with the Insurrection Act. The Insurrection Act would have to be invoked for them to do that kind of stuff. And as of right now, to be honest with you, Donald Trump he's acting assertively without acting aggressively. As much as there are people that are going to swear up and down that he's being aggressive, the federal agents carrying out their job is not aggressive. That is just them doing their jobs.
The hysterics from the left over the very disciplined approach that the president has taken is just totally disproportionate and weird, frankly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not weird. It's a tactic, with a goal.
Well, yes, and also the left is weird, and they've lost their minds over a completely reasonable and sort of tempered response, almost.
Yeah,
so.
I like the left. They're cool. This is the far left nut jobs.
Yeah.
The left can lead us places. You know what I mean? Those are my friends too.
I don't agree with that. But
I just try to get along in the world. But what's going on? I want no part of. I don't understand it, and I will stand against it.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I think that the majority of what used to be considered blue dog Democrats, that's the way they feel as well. They're like, wait a minute, we're not supposed to be happy that there are people waving foreign flags. We're not supposed to be happy that there are people that are actually fighting with the police. We're not supposed to be happy that there are cars burning, even if it is only a few blocks where this is happening, which is something I hear the Democrats point out. It's like, it's such a small area. It's such a small area, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's this week. And everyone knows that come Saturday, there's going to be protests throughout the country, and we'll see what it looks like after that, because it'll be a totally different animal when it's not just that one little, square mile.
Here's what my dad told me. He got back from Nam, and he was driving a bread truck, Wonder Bread, and he said, "You want to know what happens during a riot?" I go, "What's that, Dad?" He says, "The bread man don't show up." The beer man don't show up. It's not the way to go.
Yeah. So we got this post here from Mario Knopfel. Breaking: Israel strikes Tehran, targets homes of top Iranian officials. Israel reportedly targeted the homes of Iran's top political and military officials during tonight's strike on the capital city of Tehran.
It makes sense. All those images we're seeing look like they're middle of the city.
Yeah, they're not striking they're not. This isn't an attack on the nuclear infrastructure. This is an attack on the people in charge of Iran's military and government. So that'll change the estimation and how Iran is going to respond, I imagine,
and the speed at which
significantly. Yeah, if Israel were to say this is just about the nuclear missile their nuclear technology, then that'd be one thing. This is going to be totally different kind of response from Iran.
Seems so.
I don't see Iran taking it pretty well when they were personally targeted.
Yeah.
But they neutered Hezbollah, so
Right.
Well, yeah.
Maybe this is the pager part 2, but it's coming from the sky instead of in your pocket.
So we're going to jump to. We were talking about the people going crazy in L.A. We're going to jump to this post-millennial story. Antifa anarchists blog post claim of responsibility for torching NYPD vehicles in Brooklyn. The cars were just waiting there, practically begging for a new makeover. The post from Antifa-affiliated blog reads. From Katie Daviscourt, an Antifa-affiliated blog posted a claim of responsibility for an arson attack targeting 8 New York Police Department vehicles parked near the 83rd Precinct in Brooklyn on Wednesday. The incident occurred around 1:30 a.m., and the anarchists called for additional attacks against the police and government in solidarity with the anti-ICE riots in Los Angeles. So Antifa's attacking not just ICE, but any police. This brings to mind all of the ACAB sentiment that you heard so much in 2020, how all cops are guilty of being, oppressors, and they need to get rid of ICE entirely. They want to abolish ICE. There's probably going to be more calls to abolish the police, even though the results of the calls to abolish the police were more crime in the most crime-ridden areas. And it wasn't any kind of positive result for the people of those areas. So these activists that are making these demands or making these calls, they're actually harming the people they swear up and down they're trying to help.
Yeah, you give them too much credit by just merely calling them activists. I mean, these people are seditionists, they are insurrectionists, and they are in our midst. They are trained under a sort of cultural Marxism that justifies violence. That's why we see an increasing wave over the past decade of left-wing violence. And you have blue state governors, blue state AGs, Soros-funded DAs, Soros-funded police chiefs who have given safe harbor to the seditionists and the insurrectionists. And so it becomes very difficult to do what's necessary to keep our American cities safe. So this is not surprising. I mean, it's shocking, but it's not surprising to see this sort of thing.
I like how they, like Black Lives Matter, like, 2/3 of them were white and they went home to the suburbs and went to sleep in mommy's basement. That's how I see it on the streets.
Yeah, look, these are actual domestic terror organizations, actually. And I think that if you read, you just have to open up like their own like user manuals, and they are domestic terrorists, and they should be treated like domestic terrorists. Now, what the left wants to do, and what they particularly did during the Biden administration, is they project their own guilt onto the right by calling like traditional Catholics who are praying in front of, abortion clinics. Oh, they're the seditionists and the insurrectionists and the extremists and the domestic terrorists. But man, we need a national mobilization of law enforcement to root these guys out. I know that as the next Attorney General of Texas, and to learn more, you should go to aaronrights.com, that the Attorney General of Texas has tremendous power to sort of investigate the flow of where all this money and the funding is going, to expose and then work with local law enforcement to go arrest and then try these criminals.
So what do you think the chances of a legitimate like RICO case being put together surrounding these groups?
The chances for any RICO case getting a successful conviction is always low, right? Okay. I mean, it's just always. I mean, this is why you get them on tax fraud, right? Yeah. Like it's even in instances where you just have sort of totally flagrant, mafiosa style crime networks. It's like, oh, well, the RICO case doesn't stick, and so got you on the tax fraud. So look, I think that there are civil and criminal theories of RICO, and that it takes enterprising attorneys general who understand the nature of the threat and who want to pursue charges in creative but lawful ways to bring justice. And so anyway, just to circle back on my first answer to you, I think there's a there. I think that an investigation may give rise to either civil or criminal RICO charges against these sorts of networks. But they're always difficult to stick. And depending on the jurisdiction that you bring them in, you're either going to get, a democratically appointed or in some jurisdictions, a democratically elected judge. Yeah. So a Democrat judge with a Democrat jury and a Democrat, criminal defense attorney and a sympathetic Democrat media that will cover the cases. The cases are stacked against law and order. Yep. So it's tough, but
my thought is Antifa should have been designated a domestic terrorist organization years ago.
100%.
During Trump's first administration, I'm still puzzled as to why he didn't do that and hasn't done it yet still. And I'm looking at this, that they arrested 3 members of Antifa in Portland so far for stacking flammable debris on the local ICE building and trying to set it on fire. And you look at the pictures of these people, they just look pathetic. I mean, they look like baristas. That's why no one regards them as the threats that they are.
And I also love there's like viral clips coming out now of like leftists at gyms getting like liberal workouts and stuff. Have you guys seen this?
Yeah, I've seen some of that.
Where they're like, they get into the boxing ring and they're just like, they're completely unathletic schlubs, like trying to be fearsome because we're going to fight the fascist or whatever. And it's totally lame and cringy.
I mean, we should be like investigating these people on Twitter who have fan accounts for Luigi Mangione. Like, I just saw people circulating this letter that he wrote out for his 27th birthday.
Yeah, right.
He wrote down a list of all the things he's grateful for, and one of them was hashtag Latinas for Luigi or whatever. He knows that people idolize him online, and the people who are publicly posting about that, find them, arrest them.
Look, they are
and in
inciting
LA,
violence.
in
Yeah.
LA, they should just be coming in there with unmarked vans and rounding these people up, literally, and possibly just throwing them out over the Mexican border.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very tempting. It sounds like a good time. In fact, when I resigned from the Justice Department on, I guess it was last night, all of my Marine friends were like, dude, are you getting mobilized to go to LA? And I was like, don't tempt me with a good time, because that would have been. I agree with you, though. We just need the political will to enforce law and order and bring justice.
I feel like Trump so tragically mishandled the Summer of Love 1.0, and we're about to embark on Summer of Love 2.0. That's what we're looking at right now. And he held back because it was prior to the election and they didn't want to have bad press. That's my opinion.
You're talking about in 2020.
Yeah.
BLM terror uprising.
Do you think that is going to be replayed here this summer, or do you think that he'll be more forced?
The violence?
No, the reaction
his
from
response.
the president. From the administration.
Obviously his attention is divided at the moment, but I mean, it's been not a great showing so far. I like that they were ramping up deportations, obviously, but I don't see enough of a strong response to the criminal actions of protesters.
So he's already he activated the Guard. He sent 2,000 Marines to one spot in one city. He's continued the ICE operations, and that's what the National Guard. The Marines haven't got there. I'm not sure if the Marines are there now, but as of last night, the Marines were still doing training for riot training. But the National Guard is there. The Guard unit was running security for ICE and for everybody, so they could go and continue to do their jobs. I mean, that's night and day different from what he did initially in the Summer of Love. He just had federal assets to protect the courthouses and the federal federal buildings. They didn't do any kind of support role or the military wasn't there, first of all, and there was no federal assets doing a support role for the police. I think that the response so far is significantly stronger than
it's better. I'm just not going to be satisfied until I see every last one of these people rounded up and arrested. And so far there are 3 in Portland from what I've seen.
She's like, until I see him look like Vlad the Impaler.
I would say,
and until the deportation numbers are up to, let's say, 3,000 a day for the rest of this presidency, which is not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's like 20 million plus illegal aliens that need to be deported, and
probably
so
like 40 million.
So that's actually probably right. Like, you just assume that whatever reported numbers exist is probably.
They've been saying 20 million for 20 years.
I know. Yeah. No. Look, I share the sympathies. I will say, to President Trump's credit, I think the BLM terror uprisings in 2020 was. I don't know that I would pin the mild response necessarily to like election optics, because I actually think I would make the argument that like a hard crackdown on that would have, I think, buoyed American spirits. I think that this was the first real mass national militant, ideologically leftist, anti-American like insurrection in a long time, and that the administration and law enforcement were like trying to figure out, how do we do this? Like, is this going to go away in a week? Are they just letting off some steam for a week? And then it turns out it went on for months. And then it's like, okay, now what do we do? Now we have blue mayors, blue police departments, blue governors, like taking the knee and putting their BLM fist in the air. And navigating that is actually really tricky. Mm-hmm. I will say, though, to President Trump's now, again, Mary, though, to your point, like, I think I know what I would have done back then, and I would have put riot gear on everybody and gone online from one, the east of the urban area to the
Literally
west
just comb
online.
the
Doesn't work that way,
cities.
though, man. I mean, when the president mobilizes the National Guard over and above the governor, normally he notifies the governor. This is not normal, and you're not going to do it in all cases. If the governor doesn't want to take care of the governor's own territory, that's what happened in 2020. You don't want to do it, Harry Balls, Tim Walls, whatever. You don't want to let it burn. Then I guess we're going to have to step in. So you do learn, okay, Gavin Newsom, you're particularly troublesome. But you're not going to see every Marine division going into American City, right?
No.
So
But there's not a requirement. There's no legal requirement to get the governor's permission.
there is none, no. That's why it's very exceptional. So now,
Sure.
do you really expect the President of the United States to be managing 50 National Guards as
No.
well? I expect the governor to do it.
Yeah.
But he's been such an abject failure in California. We've learned it now. We learned in 2020. We learned it from the fires.
Right.
We're going to make a statement here, I think, is what's going on.
Yeah, look, the blue jurisdictions are failed regimes. Like California.
It's crazy.
California has a lot of good things going for it. When I think of California, I actually am like more heartbroken than I am disgusted because it's like a great American state. It's beautiful. Awesome. I lived there in Southern California for 3 years when I was stationed at Pendleton. And so we love California. It's a great American state. But when creatures of the left assume power, all they know how to do is to destroy or preside over brokenness and rottenness. And so California and some of these other blue cities and counties around the country, they're just failed regimes. Now, we can't allow it within American borders for there to just be like whole-scale failed cities. And so it then gets escalated.
And then send me money to fix it, because
Yeah. Well, I mean, speaking of money, there's something that I wanted to bring up. The Post Millennial was reporting these are the groups suspected of funding radical LA anti-ICE protests. Some left-wing activist groups are suspected of funding the anti-ICE protests turned riots over the weekend. FBI Director Kash Patel has said that the law enforcement agency will be investigating all the funding as well as the groups that supported and organized the efforts. The FBI is investigating any and all monetary connections responsible for these riots, Patel told Just the News earlier this week. Over the weekend, after some initial peaceful anti-ICE protests, violence and riots erupted in downtown LA with Waymo cars being burned, looted, violence targeted at police and other criminality. According to the outlet, one of the groups linked to the protests that occurred leading up to the violent riots is the Party for Socialism and Liberation, PSL.
It's also pumpkin spice latte.
Yeah, which is a Marxist group that has reported ties to the Chinese Communist Party. PSL has also been connected to many Gaza encampments on college campuses around the world. That's something that's worth at least mentioning. Again, these riots, these demonstrations, whatever you want to call them, they're not dependent on whatever issue they're talking about at that time.
Correct.
You know, the issue is not the issue. The issue is the revolution. That's why they tie Gaza in with illegal immigration to the U.S.
You mean these aren't guys who got upset one day in Compton and decided to put down a video game and a blunt and just go out there? You telling me this is coordinated?
Yes, sir.
That these guys could be getting paid?
I am telling you that, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The Party for Socialism and Liberation, I think we were talking about this earlier today.
We were?
Yeah, and I forget the guy's name that you'd
Roy
mentioned.
Singum.
What was it, please?
Roy Singum, an American billionaire, tech billionaire. He now lives in China with his wife, who has founded Code Pink. You got to remember that one.
Yep.
So he's a devout Maoist, right?
Yep.
I don't know how a billionaire is a Maoist, but yet he is. And money flows, as I understand it, and talk to a few people in D.C., it flows to the Party of Socialism and
Pumpkin spice latte.
Liberation. Yeah.
PSL.
Yeah.
And they go to the Coalition for the Humane Immigration Rights in L.A., at CHRLA.
Okay.
Which is also being funded by the SIEU union, going to CHRLA. So these are union dues.
Yeah.
A rich guy living in China, funding groups coming into LA.
that are
It is-
paying for people to riot in in Los Angeles in the name of both Gaza and illegal immigration.
These are, to both y'all's points, it's worth emphasizing, these are highly coordinated, highly sophisticated money laundering schemes where you
That's
have...
why I mentioned RICO, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Yes. No, I mean, and you're on to something, right? My only point was maybe more of just like a legal nerd point, which is just like it's difficult to get those claims to stick, right? But it's... this is completely unsurprising. Like, of course, there are dark money groups and Soros-affiliated groups, and there's 15 of them with 10 different names. Some of them have, like, you know, they wear their ideology in their name. Other organizations are more innocuously named, so you wouldn't expect that, you know, the Foundation for a Just America, I'm making that up, I don't know what that is, but a Foundation for Justice is actually a front group for, like, militant Marxist leftism, right?
And then our eyes get wide open when you're finding like there's a trail to USAID and like you're funding it.
Totally right. And by the way, it's been going on for decades, and conservatives have sort of just contented themselves to Mary's point, to just like arrest 3 criminals. Oh, we got 3 of them, boys. Mission accomplished. High fives all around. Meanwhile, the billionaire leftist Marxist insurrectionists are like, that's fine. Three of our soldiers are down. I've got thousands.
Yes.
Thousands. I've got ant colonies.
The smokeless war.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. Now, this is, and I made this point, but again, I'll say it again. This is exactly why you need an attorney general in the state of Texas who understands the nature of the problem.
What's the website again?
The website is, thank you very much for mentioning that. It's aaronreitz.com, AARONREITZ.com.
If I could get in there, enjoyer.com or nobsnewshour.com.
Those are great. Yes, those are great .coms as well. And so you got to have an AG in Texas presiding over the largest Republican law firm in the country who understands the nature of the threat, who reads headlines like what we've looked at and is unsurprised by it. But
Aaron, let me throw this in while you're doing it, because, you know, watch out, Texas, because California's moving there, right?
Yeah, look.
Okay, the Party for Socialism and Liberation.
Pumpkin spice latte.
Also had dealings in the Columbia campus.
Yeah, Columbia in New York. In New York,
Right,
you're talking Columbia, the
there.
university.
The guy that shot the 2 Jewish people in front of the embassy in D.C., PLA. So you could see this thing's kind of getting all over the country. We're not even aware of it.
Well, Phil made this point earlier. There is a sort of global communist revolutionary spirit that transcends. It doesn't matter whether you're a privileged white person going to Columbia or whether you're an impoverished terrorist sympathizer. It doesn't matter what it is, or you're a BLM type. They have this shared narrative of a global revolution that in their mind of progress, they want to destroy, tear down the institutions of the West, tear down American institutions, so that out of those ashes, they can create their vision of the future. It's gotta be stopped.
When the BLM young people were coming by in Detroit in 2020, I know them, you know, they know me. And it's cool, it's friendly, and they were talking Marxist stuff. And I said, young man, Marxism is the greatest critique of capitalism there is. It's quite good. The problem is the solution always ends up with people in the trains to the gulag. You don't know what you're advocating for. So I would submit to this table and the listeners, our system is an excellent one. The problem is it's been co-opted by a corrupt culture and corrupt people. There's no better system. I'm here to keep it. We just need better people, and do not fuck with my shit, because you will find out.
That's something that most Americans generally agree.
100%, dude.
Let's see. We're getting some more information. We have a post from ViceGrad24 reporting initial reports of Iran launching ballistic missiles towards Israel. We've also got a second tweet from them. Reports of explosions at the airport in Baghdad where U.S. forces are stationed. It's possible that the Iranian proxy groups in Iraq launch Khatib Hezbollah are attacking U.S. forces. I'm sure I butchered that name. There was one other thing. There we go. This is from the Secretary of State for immediate release. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. Which would be great.
Or else what?
Well, I mean, honestly, if they kill Americans, then Americans generally change their opinion about whether Americans should, be involved in something, because whether or not the United States is actually launching any kind of attacks on Iran, if Iran attacks the U.S.,
we already moved our people, didn't we? We did kind of probably know a little something. We moved people out of the region.
We definitely did. President Trump was talking about it. He's like, he was, it was something along the lines of, I'm not supposed to know and I'm not supposed to say, but it's going to happen,
Yeah, got him out of Erbil, got him out of Baghdad.
Talking about the whole, all the pizza orders at the Pentagon yesterday, too.
Yeah.
We were tracking that on the show, and we weren't sure if it was going to happen.
The orders of pizza in D.C.
Yeah, pizza
late at
deliveries.
night.
Not
for
just in
people
D.C., but there's
meetings.
there's actually a Domino's in the Pentagon.
Right.
So when that one gets busy,
That one
Is that a thing?
yeah, there is a Domino's pizza inside the Pentagon.
Yep.
And you guys can track it?
Yep, it's an index.
It's in
like Pentagon Pizza? Is
yeah,
that
it's just
the
whatever
handle, or
the
is-
address is. I forget what the address is, but there's a Domino's pizza, and you can actually, just like on Google or on Yelp or whatever, it says it's surprisingly busy or uncharacteristically busy. When it goes through the roof, you're like,
World War III busy. It's
Everyone's staying at the Pentagon and ordering pizza because the U.S. is doing something overseas.
So they're
You
saying
low-level deep state motherfucker.
It is not me that's doing
this.
this.
That's a great detective tool. I never knew that. That's interesting.
So they're saying we are not involved in these strikes, but you're suspecting they did know about it beforehand.
I think yes. I don't think that I think the U.S. and Israel generally share information when it is beneficial to both of them. So I don't think that the U.S. and Israel share all intelligence, but I think that if it's beneficial for the U.S. to know something, if it's beneficial to Israel for the U.S. to know something, then they're going to tell the U.S. And I think it's been definitely beneficial for the United States to know that they were going to attack, considering we were talking with Iran on Sunday, I think it was. What is this? Is this in English, or are we going to listen to?
We have an IDF
Middle
video
Eastern
dropped.
For years, the Iranian regime has called for the destruction of the state of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future, and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people, and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared, both in defense and offense, to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
So are we to believe that these strikes were against the homes of Iranian officials or their nuclear program?
Exactly what I was thinking. So we're getting...
I don't know that we can actually have a reliable sense of what the targets were.
Yeah, we have nothing confirmed yet.
I'm going to sit like before. I'm going to let the night play out and hope... to the media for a second. I need somebody in some place where it's reliable. And it's just been missing for years now,
Hey, man, we're trying.
No, I mean, building the new media. So if you had a budget, I'm sure you could find 30 ex-Marines that'll go over there and be reporters for you. You know what I mean?
I'm with Milo. I'm okay with it. I'm ready to be with Jesus. That's kind of where I'm at now.
That's how Milo feels. Let's see, what else do we got here? If there's anything new, or if we
I got to see Ed Krasenstein. Let's see what Ed Krasenstein.
Oh, I don't want to see what
I got it, dude.
Krasenstein. What do you?
It's like Twitter forces him. I don't follow the guy. Just want to see what smugness he's got for me tonight.
Yeah.
Whose fault is it, Ed?
He said no new wars under Trump, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
that's how I feel.
Well, I mean, technically, like
He didn't pull the triggers.
well, the U.S. isn't involved in this yet. Hopefully, not at all. But
Ed
the
would
US
love
is-
it.
Yeah, of
Ed
course
would
he would.
love it.
He'd love it. He'd love it.
Give me grist and fodder.
There was so we're going to go to this story here. Obviously, we're going to keep monitoring the situation in the Middle East, but we're going to go to this story where Tim Pool actually was tweeting something that Donald Trump had said, and it came as a bit of a surprise.
What made you change your mind about targeting in California farmers and people in the hotel and leisure business?
Well, we're not targeting. In fact, if you look today, I put out a statement today about farmers. Our farmers are being hurt badly by, they have very good workers. They've worked for them for 20 years. They're not citizens, but they've turned out to be, great. And we're going to have to do something about that. We can't take farmers and take all their people and send them back because they don't have maybe what they're supposed to have, maybe not. And you know what's going to happen and what is happening? They get rid of some of the people because, you go into a farm and you look and people they've been there for 20, 25 years and they've worked great and the owner of the farm loves them and everything else. And then you're supposed to throw them out. And you know what happens? They end up hiring the people, the criminals that have come in, the murderers from prisons and everything else. So we're going to have an order on that pretty soon, I think. We can't do that to our farmers and leisure too, hotels. We're going to have to use a lot of common sense on that.
What are you talking about, Don?
This is
All right.
outrageous.
So that was at 4 p.m. Right? Sorry, that was 4 p.m. today, and then at 6:45, Donald Trump truthed. I don't have a link to it. Actually, maybe I can find a link to it.
Jack Posobiec also added, the murderer of Molly Tibbetts was a Mexican illegal who worked on a dairy farm in Iowa.
Well, yeah, that is
He
true.
was just looking for honest work.
Let's see. So here's the actual tweet from Donald Trump, or the truth from Donald Trump. The follow up to that statement at the press conference. The Biden administration and Governor Gavin Newsom flooded America with 21 million illegal aliens, destroying schools, hospitals, and communities, and consuming untold billions of dollars in free welfare. All of them have to go home, as do countless other illegals and criminals who will turn us into a bankrupt third world nation. America was invaded and occupied. I'm reversing the invasion. It's called re-immigration. Our courageous ICE officers who are daily being subject to doxing and murder threats are heroes. We will always have their back as they carry out this noble mission. America will be for Americans again. So that seems to be walking back the idea of keeping the farm workers that his friends that own farms.
I think people are straining to see something that's not here. This articulation in this Truth Social post that we're reading right now is consistent with what President Trump has said from the very beginning and is consistent with the policies that he's enacted since he got sworn in on January 20th.
Dude, you make sense.
I think that what he was sort of riffing with the Fox News reporter, I don't view that in any way as like a firm articulation of a policy position. I don't view it as like we're staking out a new thing. I think that he is channeling what I imagine are some concerns that have been articulated to him. But I don't see this as a policy pronouncement in any way, shape, or form. I think that the Truth Social post that came 2.5 hours afterwards was not so much a walking back, but just a re-articulation of what he said there was maybe a little bit different and threw some folks off. But the Truth Social post was consistent with what he's been doing from the beginning. So it just doesn't bother. I mean, I don't love.
Can you throw that back up there?
Then why did he say that?
Say what?
What is common sense in his estimation from that clip?
You're talking about the
it's like
the
we're
4
gonna need
o'clock
to
clip?
use. Yeah, we're gonna need to use common sense about that.
I think he is thinking and
his rhetoric is
processing out
giving
loud.
me whiplash.
Yeah, I
Well,
just don't.
there's a real world here, if I might, been out in it. This, what he says is, all of you that just came in here, this last wave, you're gone. There's not going to be amnesty. And if you came in the first wave and you're a punk and a creep and you've been convicted, you're gone. What he said today makes 100% sense to me. For instance, David, ¿qué tal? Es Carlito, bro. There's a dude. I worked in the canneries, slaughterhouses, the grape orchards. There are people been here for 20 years working, can't go home, can't go to funerals. They got kids that are doctors. David is a good neighbor. He works. They're not paying enough for you to go work for $9 an hour in the California sun, picking grapes gently so you don't bruise them. David's been doing it. In 2013, there was the immigration reform bill. They came up with a concept called a blue card, not a green card, a blue card, which means you work ag. You don't get to vote. You have some access to government programs, right? You can move internationally, go to the funeral. They're upstanding people in our country. They've been here forever, built lives. We're not running them out. And if you think we're running them out, we will go broke, because working in a slaughterhouse, they're not paying anymore. They're not paying in the canneries anymore, because that's all been broken. So in the short term, if you gathered everybody up, you're never going to eat. Not that Americans won't do the jobs, because they used to do the jobs.
Well, they used to do the jobs for higher livable wages.
I'll give you an example.
Illegal immigration,
yes,
on scale is what
yes.
has caused these jobs that you would otherwise be able to live off of to now be
in 1985, when the Hormel unionized workers went on strike in Minnesota, they were making $10.50 an hour, adjusted for inflation, because we all now know what inflation is. That's $32 an hour.
Yeah.
And they got benefits like a pension, right? Yeah. What do they pay in the Hormel plants today?
Dirt, probably.
Dirt?
Yeah.
18, 16, 15? In fact, they're replacing the illegals with the new illegals.
Right.
So they can cut the wage. That's what's going on.
I just
it's a longer-term problem.
My view of this is, Mary asked the question, what does he mean by common sense? I just don't read a lot into what he's saying in this clip, genuinely. And maybe I'm being completely naive. Typically, I don't like to think that I'm naive, but I'm hearing the president riff casually with a reporter that he knows extremely well and is sort of just thinking out loud.
And I hear policy.
And by the way,
I hear policy.
I don't, because if you hear policy, then what if you were to conclude that what the President of the United States said in a 1 minute, 6 second clip, which is completely different from everything he's ever said
I don't know if that's
on immigration. Okay.
He never said everybody got to go.
I don't think that's true.
What I read in the second clip was, all of you that came the second time under bogus circumstances, you're out. And if you came that first time, because we got a lot of those.
What's the second time?
The second time would be the Biden era. The first time would be when NAFTA got signed, the peso collapsed, and everybody came in about 1998, 99, 2000, 2001, 2002, when you started hearing on the telephone, if you want English, press number 1. Yeah. Para español, marque número 2.
This
about that time.
Yeah, this is when the great Pat Buchanan was putting out great ads, actually.
And don't forget, 90s. Dude, when NAFTA got signed, then WTO got signed, normalization of trade with China got signed, Detroit got crushed, our jobs went overseas, and what came in for the rest of the jobs? Cheap labor. So you can't turn that around with a few immigration sweeps. You just can't. I think he's making sense to me. It's real world.
No, I don't think so. I think that there was a move toward progressive globalization that believed that global markets, borderless countries, an erosion of identity of state, nation, and people is something that swept the West from the 80s to the 90s to the early 2000s.
Called
And what
neoliberalism. Yep.
Correct. And what President Trump represents is a rejection of that. And it's not just him, but it's now supermajorities of American voters who reject that. We've seen the fruits of it. And it has been, in my opinion, terrible for America, both economically and culturally. And so I celebrate the worldview articulated in the Truth Social post that came at 6:45 that I think represents the heart of President Trump's immigration agenda, for which I intend, as the next Texas Attorney General,
a website
at where you can go to aaronrights.com to stand alongside him, fighting to deport illegal aliens, defend, build the border wall, protect our communities, end human and drug trafficking.
All right.
That was a great pivot, man. That was a good one.
So we're going to jump to this story here from Mediaite. Trump cancels work permits for over 500,000 migrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela.
Dude, that's how you do.
That to me sounds like a good idea.
That was a bogus plan by Biden.
The Department of Homeland Security revoked work and resident permits for hundreds of thousands of migrants on Thursday, according to a CNN report. A notice sent by email to Cuban, Haitian, Nicaraguan, and Venezuelan nationals demands that migrants vacate the country immediately, stating that failure to do so may result in involuntary detention. This notice informs you that your parole is now terminated. A copy of the notice obtained by CNN reads, if you do not leave, you may be subject to enforcement actions, including but not limited to detention and removal without an opportunity to make personal arrangements and return to your country in an orderly manner. The termination of the Biden-era parole program that granted legal working status to an estimated 530,000 migrants from these four countries has long been a goal of the Trump administration. President Donald Trump signed an executive order to end the program on his first day in office, one of many steps taken to achieve the president's campaign promise of mass deportation. I mean, look, 500,000 is a nice start.
Dude.
There's
again, if we go back to what, we were just going back and forth about.
Back and forth.
This era. This Biden disaster, right? We agree here?
Yeah, we agree.
Okay. So they got to fly in. They got to make reservations. And part of that application was you get to work immediately. And then you get temporary protective status and all of this.
Yep.
100% you're gone. Done. Revoked. Get out. $500,000. Okay. $500,000's a huge move. That's tremendous.
Yeah.
Going back again. Before this disaster, and we could kind of put up with it, and we were getting our shit together, and let's put up a wall and come in the right way. We still had David out there picking the grass. Okay, we can deal with you, dude, right? But I see, I'm not trying to argue what you want or if it's right or anything, but I see him actually being consistent and keeping his word, because he didn't say, man, if you work on a grape farm and you've been here since 1999, you're out.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I mean, to the extent, like, I don't think it's inconsistent to say that getting these 500,000 out is a top priority, whereas getting out, to use your phrase, like the grape pickers who moved to Central California in '98 is not the priority. Now, it is my opinion that the grape picker who's still here breaking the law every single day should go, but we can have a prudential conversation about what's the number one priority right now. I think this is the right move. Look, this is interesting. When I was a deputy at the Texas Attorney General's office several years ago, during the Biden era. Actually, this decision by the Biden administration is something that myself and Attorney General Paxton sued on. And there was the whole theme of cases where the Biden administration would issue blanket what's called parole. So parole is a legal immigration concept that is supposed to be used on a case-by-case basis. So you've got immigration authorities who, in extraordinary circumstances, can issue sort of what's called parole. It's like, look, this is outside the norm, but there's exigent circumstances. Yes, you can come over here, but you need to stay in the cell. You need to connect yourself with family. And so parole, think of parole as something that has always historically been used as a one by one, onesie here, twosie there, whatever. whatever. What Biden then did is he just blanket paroled tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands all at once, which eviscerated the legal concept of parole. What it was it turned parole and amnesty, which are supposed to be very rare one-to-one type things, into just amnesty. Right. And so
I agree.
What happened here? Yeah. So we actually sued.
It was a lie.
It's a total lie. And they knew
if
exactly
I could
what they
give
were
the
doing.
dumb guy version, dude, you should call me up. I'll give you some free advice on the camera. Here's the dumb guy version of parole. When you claim amnesty, you walk in this country, amnesty, right? We've signed international courts. Okay, amnesty, asylum, you need asylum. Here's what happens to you. You get locked up. You are sitting in a cell. Yeah. A nice cell, an American cell. Some of the best cells, great cells, terrific cells. I know builders. You're supposed to sit in a cell until you see the immigration judge. Usually took, on average, 35 days. You got parole so you could leave to go get your heart fixed or your blood pressure dropped. You get to leave the cell and go to the hospital, and then you got to come back.
That's right.
That's what parole was. But Biden went like this. Come on in. There's no jail cell for you. Parole, we'll get to you in 8 years.
You can think of these concepts even in like a law enforcement, right? Where like, I'm on parole, right? An individual.
The old Epstein shit.
Right? Like an alleged defendant is out on parole. Or criminals out on parole under certain circumstances and terms. Those terms are very customized. They are personalized. They are individualized. They apply only to that person. It's made on a case-by-case basis in coordination with the judge, a parole officer, the police department, and the prosecution.
And it's not like parole getting out of the state pen.
Yeah.
Right? It's not that kind.
Right. So this is absolutely. So even though like when I was at the Texas AG's office, we litigated stuff like this. Thank God President Trump wins in 2024, and all he's doing is just unraveling something that was manifestly illegal in the first place. But I think so this is good. Like, this is something to be happy about. This is good. We see the leftist pro-illegal alien groups sort of weeping and gnashing their teeth over it. That's also sometimes an indication of whether something good is happening. But you look at the legal arguments that these groups made in court, and it again reveals the true nature of the liberal left and what they believe about this country, what they believe about the rule of law. And to see the left, the well-funded sort of legal nonprofit space, work in coordination with democratically appointed judges in blue jurisdictions with blue juries and blue communities, they are stopping at nothing. The litigation that these blue states and pro-illegal alien groups waged against Trump for doing something manifestly within the discretion of the President of the United States is just yet another reflection of the left's willingness to throw all principle out the door and just do whatever it takes to just stop and thwart the will of the American people.
So trust me, you're a conservative, right?
Yes.
And you don't like the left. So don't trust me, but consider me as a reasonable centrist.
Okay.
That there's a pathway forward, that we can have a normalized country where people are working and providing things for each other, that we don't have to have this shit. But if we could magically get them all out tomorrow, you wouldn't eat. And not all immigrants are like picking grapes. Let's get that straight too. But
it's nothing but grapes. It's just
right,
grapes everywhere.
Like, you have to. So much has been reconfigured in 30 years that you just can't get it done in a minute.
Yeah,
so
I
actually thought Trump was speaking reasonably. Maybe I'm wrong, but you don't have to hate me for it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm
don't hate you.
wrong.
No, I mean, I don't feel like there's any animosity for anyone sitting around the table.
No.
But I do think that, look, if there's a lot of people that think the more people are deported, the better, because they kind of take it for granted that you're not actually going to get rid of 21 million people. Right? Like, if you could get rid of, I think there's a lot of people out there that were like, look, if you made them an offer and said, look, we're not getting 21 million, right? But we can get 6 million out. I think there's a lot of people that would feel like that's a victory. Personally, I would like to, I don't think that there should be To me, there's no upper limit as to how many people that are here illegally is enough to move along. I do understand the argument. Oh, they've been here for 20 years and they've set up a life, and et cetera. And I do think and I do think that that's a different context than people that have been here for 3, 4, 5 years. But at the same time, I don't think that there's any reason to say, oh, well, you're here illegally. You've been here for a long time. So because you've been here for a long time, we're not going to do anything.
Yeah, right. That's not like a principled, like consistently enforceable standard. Like we've been here a long time exception to deportation. I can understand where we would make certain prudential considerations based upon feasibility, logistics, unintended second and third order of effects. But these are like prudential considerations. But on the principle, by which I distinguish prudence from principle, on the principle discussion, every single one of the 21 plus million people who are here illegally are in fact here illegally and are therefore under our duly enacted immigration laws subject to deportation.
No argument from me.
So look, I think that your framing earlier was correct about like, well, you know, if we can't get all 21, let's just accept 6. And 6 is better than 0, right? But I don't accept the premise that we should immediately begin from a position of negotiating against ourselves or like erecting and I'm not saying you're suggesting it, right? But I acknowledge that weaker conservatives, Republicans with less willpower, are willing to begin the public policy discussion by just conceding that, 21 million we can't do that. That would be. Could you not only imagine the economic effects, but the optics would just be terrible. So therefore, we have to content ourselves with like a pittance.
I don't see that because you're already seeing ICE at work. I mean, the first.
Well, that's not what I'm saying.
I know, but here, man, I'm jumping in. The first stroke was, all right, we're going to start deportation. We're going to get these guys. Now you just saw all the Border Patrol app people gone. That's the next move. You got to start talking about how you're going to reach a path of normalization. Let me look into your background. You paid taxes. You broke the law. You've been duly employed. Okay,
look,
there's no purity here, man.
I'm
tired of this one here too. No one is illegal. Okay. But the shit people do is illegal.
We'll get to that in just a minute.
You know what I mean?
Being here illegally.
Let's get our immigration system together so this doesn't happen anymore. We can agree on that.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's forward-looking.
No, we can't. Right? Like, so we can talk like we can agree, but the issues that we're having right now, or that we've been experiencing, they were directly in the face of what Americans wanted. No Americans wanted a total open border. No Americans wanted to ship in 20 million illegal immigrants, especially when the reason to ship them in was to bolster the numbers in places like California, where there have been a mass exodus of population, and they're looking to have these people in the census in 2030, so that way that enhances Democrats' chances of having
electoral success,
the congressional districts. So that's all dependent on the census, and this is a two-pronged attack on the existing Americans' voting power. If you can dilute the American people's voting power by changing the makeup of states and getting more congressional seats, California has 55 or something like that congressional seats because there's 36 million people in California or something like that. Yeah. And if they can get in an additional 5 or so million because of this, that could mean an additional 2. I don't know how many it is, but the point is, Democrats have been actively doing this. This isn't a situation where it's through no fault of anyone, at all. This is an active plan that the Democrats have been instituting between this particular issue and also things like the refugee resettlement program and the NGOs that were financing people's trips. So this is totally because of Democrats. So it's not
100% right.
We can't even get the immigration system in order going forward because of this divide, right? I totally agree with that. And then I submit to you, if we can't even get the rules applied all the time, how are we going to get everybody out?
Well, okay. So we're mixing two separate conversations, and I think it's causing a lack of clarity. There is the practical conversation about what can or cannot be done. Then there is the sort of more principled or ideological conversation about the nature of illegal immigration and the degree to which you enforce borders and so on and so forth. And I'm trying to treat these things separately. Yeah. On the one hand, I start from the principle that if 21 million aliens are here illegally, every single last one of them should be deported. That is just statutorily, legally correct. Then there's a separate conversation, which is, well, where do we start? From what states? What are the methods? Is it feasible or desirable to get all 21 million? Those are separate policy level conversations. And I'm just trying to detach this.
We're all there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would say that's great. You start in the classroom. I start from the streets and read the books at night when I go to bed. So I'm talking about the reality.
Yeah,
and not
listen,
the
okay.
I'm just telling you
got
that's the street, dude.
I have litigated immigration cases for several years. I have worked with Senator Cruz on passing border security legislation.
You gave us the resume.
And I was nominated to the Justice Department in part to work on a federal immigration law, and have partnered with Tom Homan and Kash Patel and Attorney General Bondi on working all these things.
I covered the border for 10 years.
Okay,
I worked in the world's biggest slaughterhouse. I worked in the world's biggest cannery. We're trying to share here and get someplace.
Right. So all I'm saying, and
by the way, Mary brought it up. Mary. In 2005, the Pew Foundation said there were 11 million illegal immigrants living in America. At the end of 2023, their latest study, after all the Biden stuff, there were 11 million illegal immigrants. So there was not one extra illegal immigrant in all of that time. And it's the conversations.
Yeah, so I'll finish my point that I was making earlier, which was what we have seen since President Trump was inaugurated on January 20th was a concerted, national, extremely well-funded lawfare campaign to thwart even just the beginnings of deportation operations, right? Like we've deported, I think at this rate, like 175,000 people. Mm-hmm. Maybe we're at 200 by now, somewhere in that zone, right? And we're just now getting started. And it has been a monumental task to even just begin scratching the surface. And so I'm arguing that 20 plus million illegal aliens ought to, and do in fact under our United States laws, deserve to be deported. But to a point that was made earlier, I think you made this point, which was like, we can't even agree on the rules moving forward to deport them, because look at how difficult it is just to get 0.01% of them out of here. So it's tough. It's tough, but it takes political will to see it through.
And there are brains in the Trump administration, because I know people working this.
Okay.
They expected all that. All the theater of judge shopping and national injunctions, they were expecting it. As it was explained to me, here comes the rollout now. Here, what you're seeing now is the rollout.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and jump to Super Chats. So smash the like button, share the show with your friends, with your family, with everyone you know. Head on over to timcast.com to join our Discord, and head on over to rumble.com, become a member, and you'll be allowed to watch the after hours, uncensored portion of our show where we do the call-ins. You can call in and talk to our guests, talk to the panel. But we're going to start with Shane H. Wilder here says, with the last plane crash, it's Trump's fault crowd are at it again. I did the research, and the month-to-month numbers from the FAA are lower than they were in the middle of COVID 2020, that's great. But I don't think are people blaming Trump for the plane crash in India?
Maybe not in India.
Oh.
But everywhere.
Everywhere else. All right. Fair enough. Wow. You know that's going to happen. So.
Right. Oh, my God.
Sounds good.
Let's see. Weary Traveler says, I had a whole message prepared for Tim about giving him yet another Fell For It Again award, but that Shabos Goy is too embarrassed to show his face now that his fellow Shabos Goy backtracked on everything. Amazing. I'm not sure exactly why Weary Traveler is so worked up. Weary Traveler is frequently in the PCC chat and far calmer usually, but apparently this evening Weary Traveler is worked up.
What does Shabbos mean?
I'm not sure. I think it means like
Yeah, Shabbos Goy is like on the Sabbath, you are like the Goyim, or the Goy, in this case, one of the Goyim that can do work for someone who's a reverent Jew.
My brother, his neighbor, will come over and say, "Can you turn my lights on?" Like
that's a Shabbos Goy.
Shabbos Goy.
Yeah.
Frankie, you're a Shabbos Goy, bro. Congratulations.
Mosif Stalin 69 says, "Can you guys see my Rumble rants?" Yeah. We can. I'm not sure that we're excited about it though. We'll see. I'm not sure. Tonight's gonna be a rough night for the rants and the super chats. Let's see. Jeremy B said, "If I rushed to the podium of the DHS secretary, they would have thrown me under the jail." Yeah, look, it's standard procedure to protect government officials. Especially cabinet officials, so they would definitely have thrown you under the jail, just like any other normal person. And to be honest with you, the senator was treated, pretty.
So I think that
gently.
was SOP response to somebody trying to barge into a press conference by a secretary.
I mean, I don't feel like you don't feel like it was a big deal, do you?
I think it was the right thing, man.
Well, the right thing to do, yeah.
I agree with that.
But he should go to jail and then be let out on his own recognizance.
It'd be better to actually.
And then no
book it.
cash bail in Cali now.
Let's see. Justin Spengler says, "I did executive protection in the Navy. We would have treated the situation the exact same. I have no idea who this crazy man screaming is. Be gone, thought." Which, I mean, yeah, like security is going to do security things. It doesn't matter that, like, you're a senator, especially seeing as like he is the junior senator from California, right? So he's not very well known.
Isn't he this ranking senator?
I think he's the junior. I think he was the junior.
So who's the other senator?
They're both very new. The other one is
Schiff.
Pencilneck. Schiff.
Did he just get elected?
He did. He just got elected to the Senate. Yes,
And
he did.
Padilla got not Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein's seat.
Yeah.
I think he's the senior senator from California.
That's hilarious.
That is bizarre. Wow.
Is he actually the senior?
Yeah, Padilla is the senior senator.
Wow. All right. So
He succeeded Feinstein in 23, and then Schiff got elected in 24. So they're both new. I mean, they're both really new.
they're both very new.
Both very diplomatic. Would you not agree?
Yes. Total.
Let's see here. Trucking Pat says, "While we have an aspiring, we need a state to sue California for allowing illegals to count on the census and to vote in elections."
Yeah, thanks,
I would
Reagan.
love. What was that?
So thanks, Reagan.
Yeah, I would actually really like to see some kind of challenge, but I don't foresee that coming anytime soon. And to be honest with you, I'm not even sure that the Supreme Court would take it.
Well, it depends on who the next Texas Attorney General
There you
is. And
go.
if you want to learn more about whether I'd be able to do something like that, go to aaronwrights.com.
Perfect. Plastic Cup Politics says, "Mr. LeDuff, I'll be attending the Kilmar Garcia arraignment protest tomorrow in Nashville. Any last-minute words of advice for a 20-year military veteran covering the event protest?"
Yeah, my brother, thank you for doing it. Go there, show them how we Americans do it. Keep it peaceful, keep smart, and keep your chin up, man. And thanks for taking the time.
Wait, so what is he's going to
He's attending the arraignment of Kilmar Garcia tomorrow in Nashville.
protest the arrangement or support the arraignment?
No, I think he's just going to cover it, and then he expects to
to
see
cover it
the
as a
protest.
journalist.
Yeah.
Is it a reporter?
Yeah, he's a reporter.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
he's covering
This
the
is
protest.
bro. Just soak it up and write the truth.
There you go.
Talk to everybody.
Which is
Remember,
that Kilmar Garcia
that's the
should be
thing about a
deported
reporter,
immediately.
though.
That's the truth.
right? When you hit the streets, you pick and choose.
Yeah.
Because that person will talk to me, or that one looks too rough. Like try to get a wide swath and try to get a seat in the courtroom.
There you go. Good stuff. All right, let's see. Evol 2022 says, Q2 crew, do you think it would be a good idea to have the National Guard and DHS join forces to help with deportations? We need more ICE agents, and I think the National Guard could be trained to help with that. Personally, I don't think it's a great idea. I think that the DHS and ICE actually do have sufficient bodies to, wrap people up. And I don't think that the National Guard is actually well trained for that particular mission. I do think the National Guard, it's fine for the National Guard to be security for these guys that are doing the job, but the actual policing of civilian areas in the United States, that's got to be the actual police.
So I have maybe a slightly different take on that. So one of the features of the big beautiful bill that the president is trying to get through Congress is an injection of new and big funding for immigration enforcement, ICE, DHS, and so forth, because those entities have communicated to the Congress that they are not adequately staffed to take care of the mass deportation campaign that we need to experience for the next couple of years. And then the second thing is, I think you're right that the National Guard, or sort of the DOD space more generally, is not necessarily ideally equipped to handle immigration enforcement or law enforcement. That's not their purpose. However, as we've seen with the president's mobilization of the National Guard and then the activation of the Marines, is that they can, in fact, provide very helpful the right word is maybe not gap filling, but there are areas in the secondary level, whether it's logistics or support or area security or property protection, that the National Guard is really good at doing, which then frees ICE agents and other immigration enforcement officials to carry out their mission. And so, just me personally, there are nuances here on how you do something like that, but I would like to see what that particular poster suggested.
I'll toss this in for that person. This is what I hear, and this is again coming from the borders are ICE, etc. The big, beautiful bill is going to have about $170 billion for immigration enforcement, which includes massive detainment facilities, probably in the Midwest, Kansas, something like that. Until those get built, Air National Guard bases, etc., may be and are considering to be used as detention facilities. So you might have National Guard being detention guards. All remains to be up in the air now until that bill passes.
All right. Europa Chronicle says, Aaron, can you speak to Texas investigation into Act Blue's foreign money laundering into Democrat campaigns and NGOs?
Yeah, I mean, look, what Act Blue is absolutely something that has been hijacked by foreign money influences, and then Act Blue, for the listeners that don't know, is sort of the vehicle by which Democratic candidates receive money, and it is illegal in the United States for either foreign individuals or foreign entities to give money to American elections, right? It's part of the category of election interference. Frankly, it's foreign election interference. But because Act Blue is so flush with hundreds of millions of dollars of foreign cash, they are reluctant to open up the books and be transparent about what they're doing and where their money is coming from. And so what you've seen now in light of that is during the Biden era, of course, the Biden Justice Department did nothing to put a stop to that. So it became incumbent upon red state AGs to open up investigations. Those investigations are ongoing. They are revealing highly disturbing trends, and I don't know if there's any active litigation yet, but you have to build the facts and build the case before you bring it. And now the state AGs have a partner in Trump's Justice Department. And so to this poster's question, I can tell you it's ongoing. I can tell you that it is a huge problem. I can tell you that it is the benefit of foreign money is something that that goes almost uniformly, unilaterally to the Democratic Party and to the left. And what you need, especially in an AG's office like Texas, which is the largest Republican and conservative law firm in the country, is you need an AG who understands the nature of that threat. And that, again, is why I'm running for Texas Attorney General to succeed Ken Paxton, to continue pressing in on that stuff.
Chat, by the way, we did cover Israel-Iran war, just so you guys know, in an earlier part of the show. We don't have any more information about it. It's all coming out right now. It's a very fluid situation, but we'll talk about it again when we know more. Thanks, y'all.
Let's see.
You can read that one if you want. I'll respond to that.
Which one?
The one that you saw, like, just above this right here.
Go ahead.
I thought
Which
you were
one? I'm not sure which one you're.
it's okay. No worries. Keep going.
Eric Shaver one?
Yeah.
Sure. Eric Shaver says Serge looks like he's been hanging out with the creeps, loitering in front of the booths behind the truck stop. Are you a lot lizard, Serge?
No, I think that's what he's trying to call me, is a lot lizard. Anyways, call your mom, man. She misses you.
Yikes.
Let's see here. Yaquilinda? Yaquilindia? The Biden-era invasion and the subsequent anti-ICE riots have set back overall legal migration back further than all the progress we made up to 2020.
Speak the truth.
Yeah, I mean, the American people generally had a positive opinion of legal immigration up until the Biden administration, and I think that the Biden administration has turned a significant, if not a majority of Americans against the idea of immigration at all for a while.
Yeah, total immigration moratorium
Yeah.
is now kind of the standard.
There was a long time where if you presented that idea, people would gasp.
Yeah.
The idea that you would turn off immigration for any amount of time, and now you can. There are people that are like, "Hey, 20 years, shut it down."
Shut it down.
Yeah, like I say, there's things to think about, but I don't argue. You know what I mean? Like, I know why you're feeling that way.
I'm extremely sympathetic with that position.
Yeah.
And here we are sitting.
Here we are sitting.
All right, let's see. Some more super chats here. The Glower Deluxe says Trump is allowing illegal workers to stay. He approved 100K plus H-1B visas in 2026 while our tech sector is being gutted and Palantir is being used as the new Patriot Act. None of this is America first. I do agree with you. I do think that the Palantir issue is a different issue. Not that it's good or okay, but I think the Palantir issue is significantly different to the H-1B visa issue, and it's also, pretty different from the overall immigration question. But I do understand these three different issues that you bring up or things that you're talking about. They're all things that people would have said, no, Trump wouldn't do that. That's not the kind of thing that Trump wants. That's not the kind of thing that the MAGA coalition wants, and it's not the kind of thing that America First people want. And I think that's a great point. It's legitimate. Like, those kind of ideas are not the kind of things that you would talk to someone that considers themselves MAGA and they'd say, oh yeah, I back these ideas. So. Let's see. Dalamar says 3,000 per day is nothing. The Biden horde is 20 million alone. We need 30,000 per day, 7 days a week to put a dent in the total number of illegals. I mean, look.
What Mary said. I think Mary made that. Is Mary Dalamar?
Not 30,000 per day. I said 3,000 per day would be great.
Yeah, and he said
get
that.
Rid of 1 million a year.
I mean, look,
that would be.
It would be nice. Yeah.
I doubt that will happen.
So if it was. We averaged about 8,000 a day under Biden, right? So we're
coming in, something like that,
right? So that was over 4 years, so that it would take 15 years.
I mean, it's going to.
No, look, I think that that Dalamar has at least got the numbers right.
Yeah.
If you've got 30,000 per day for 365 days, that's just short of 11 million per year, which would get us on track. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's. Dalamar's onto something. I don't know.
If you're going to hit the benchmark of what most people would consider mass deportation, that would be about 1 million a year, which is well below, obviously, the number that he provided in that super chat. But still,
I think too that
that's just the bare minimum.
Which
is the popular mandate.
Yes, you are correct, I think, in identifying what the popular mandate was. I think you are also correct in identifying what, like, kind of the feeling of what the threshold should be to meet that mandate. And I am more on the side of Dalamar than you might think. But what I appreciate, I think that guys like Tom Homan and Stephen Miller and the president, Kristi Noem, et cetera, are taking is what they want is they want, I think, I don't know this for sure. I haven't had this conversation with these guys about this particular issue. But my sense is that what we are going to see for the first year of the Trump administration is a proof of concept. And I think that they are starting with the worst of the worst. They are building popular consensus to the actual execution of deportation operations. Because I think you're right. The American people voted for mass deportations, but there's a difference. You have to sustain popular support for mass deportations. And I think a smart way to do that is to spend about a year getting rid of like the baddest hombres that are out there. But also we have to get our immigration enforcement, law enforcement, and our logistical chains like accustomed to deporting people, which we haven't done. And so it takes a time to build. And so yes, I too would like to see 30,000 deported per day for like year after year, right? But I also understand that there are practical concerns and there are prudential concerns that don't excuse not deporting people. In other words, I will never concede that 20 million should be deported, but I'm okay with 6. That was that conversation we were having earlier. Yeah. But I do respect that in the execution, in the prosecution of a deportation operation, which is massively logistically complicated, that it takes some time to warm up. And so I'm willing to sort of let the administration figure this thing out. It might take them a year, 18 months or so. And then once we've got the rail lines built, we've got the beds and the housing facilities built, we've got ICE agents, ICE offices like repopulated with law enforcement officers. We've got cooperating sheriff's departments and police departments. That's when we start ticking it up until we get to that 30,000 per week per day.
Because they had fully anticipated 80-20. Everybody wants the bad guys out, right? Yeah. They know the polling. When it gets down to, oh, geez, it's going to be, the maid. Then you get around 51, 52. It's still a majority, right? But you look at what's going on now in L.A., and now it's not 51. Now it's 59.
Right.
You see what I mean? Yes. So this thing might backfire on the funded protesters where people have had enough. We all famously have now seen that legal immigrants are sick of this thing. It was, right? You saw, exactly. Canadian?
I'm gonna act like you didn't just say that, but I'm from South Africa.
Yeah.
So all right, let's see.
I like Canadians,
Okay.
Oh, you should read that. I want to say something about that. The cloth Swiss.
This one here, cloth Swiss. John Deere makes wonderful grape picking machines. I'm fatigued with the who's going to pick the cotton argument. Subscribe to Cecil Says for your leftist copes and freakouts.
I don't know. I have no comment on like the all caps part of that. But like this is one of the things where, I as a conservative am more comfortable with AI and emerging tech. Because I actually think in many instances that is the answer to valid concerns about who's going to harvest the almonds or the strawberries 100%. Or whatever. If you look at the Palantirs of the world, they are developing technologies to basically just have hundreds, thousands of acres farmed by AI, smart tech, and these machines, and so there's no need
get that.
to have tens of millions. I like to see that.
I'm glad you pulled up because that was directed at me, so I'll answer you, dude. Yeah, the cotton gin did that. Necessity is the mother of invention. I get all that. I'm not an idiot. What I'm saying is we go through the list. Remember that? You know who was essential during COVID? The guy working at the fucking dog food store. You know what I mean? Like, my dog gonna starve. I got myself toilet paper and I forgot the dog food. He was that's all we're doing is just figuring it out. I'm not like, Andy almonds and, we got canning machines now. We got nets that catch fish. It's not, I understand that. I'm not, what do you call me, a liberal? Call me liberal, whatever.
I don't know.
Take my talking points.
I don't know.
It's just
I
some
think he was just criticizing the argument.
Yeah, but there's some sensible things to be done. Is what the president was bringing up today. That's all.
All right. Okay. Let's see. Raymond G. Stanley Jr. says, "I support slave labor." Well, that's a
hot take.
That's a hot take there, Raymond G. Stanley. He spent money to say that, and then I just tossed him right under the bus. Let's see. Raymond G. Stanley again for $5 says, "Thank you, Charlie, for speaking sense to the Trump farmers comment. I said this on the show. Folks won't pick strawberries, but 20-year illegals will." So
if you pay him cheap.
Yeah, if you pay him cheap.
You pay him cheap. I get the argument, man.
So will an AI generated farm machine. So no need for the 20-year-old illegal alien.
I'd rather Americans get paid part of the profit to pick them. That's what I prefer.
Well, I mean,
That's what I prefer.
That makes sense. But I think to think that that automation is going to stop, I don't think that's going to be a future. I think that we got a good point about the robotics.
We lost 40% of our jobs to globalization and 60% to robots.
Yep. Dan Stenger says, "How about start finding business heavy for hiring illegal immigrants? If they can't make money, I'm guessing they won't stay in self-support." Look, that's something that I think goes to a totalizing strategy for reducing not just illegal immigrants, but not just criminal immigrants, but all illegal immigrants. And that's make it as difficult for the people that are hiring the illegal immigrants and stuff, to make it as difficult for them as possible, which is one of the reasons that, or one of the most objectionable things to what Donald Trump said earlier when he was talking about, the farmers, and they're going to get hurt so bad if we send away the illegal immigrants. And it's like, look, you shouldn't just be saying, oh, we don't want to see these farmers get hurt. You should be saying, look, we want to fine these farmers for hiring illegals at all. Like the way to make sure that you don't have illegal immigrants in your country is to make it difficult for illegal immigrants to stay in your country. And you have to make it difficult for them to find work. And the best way to make it difficult for them to find work is to actually punish people that would hire illegal immigrants.
Yeah, there has been a reluctance to do this over the past 40 years. Yeah, right. It's like and a lot of times from the sort of corporatist right, which has always been very reluctant to go after corporations, but really it's the mega corporations that are that have the demand for the illegal labor and is the primary driving force to bringing in hundreds of millions of illegals.
And then my neighbor, of course, there was a time there when I was like, wow, black guys and white guys are mowing lawns again. Whoa, we're roofing again.
What happened?
And then we got the next wave and they're out again, because even the local guy, the dude that owns the company, is looking to profit, maximize his profit.
Yep.
You don't want to, I know how to roof, but you only paying 15, dude.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's see. What do we got here? Some more super chats.
May I approach, Your Honor? Did you ever see the clip of Caesar Chavez?
Okay, then. Let's see. The SIG P220 said, inside source is reporting Delaney Hall, New Jersey, the detention center holding ICE detainees that LaMonica McIver assaulted agents, has been taken over by the prisoners. Really?
What's that?
Inside source is reporting that Delaney Hall in New Jersey. Let's see what.
Holding ICE detainees?
Yeah, it says the Delaney Hall in New Jersey is. The detention center holding ICE detainees has been taken over by the prisoners. Let's see. Inside.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen anything about that yet, but.
Yeah, neither have I.
But if that's happening, that's kind of crazy.
That's
LOL,
crazy.
World War III is starting and you're talking about illegals.
Yeah.
It's still a problem.
Look, man, the fact of the matter is the stuff that's going on in Iran right now isn't as prescient of a problem for Americans as illegal immigration.
Yeah,
there's no question that illegal immigration is a uniquely American problem right now. It remains to be seen whether the conflict between Israel and Iran is like an existential American threat. But right now, today, at this hour, the existential threat that America is facing is the invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens.
Yeah, that's my sense as well.
Yeah, I'm worried about Saturday.
It's the protests. I think that the protests are going to go off, and I think that most of the police forces in the U.S. will be able to handle whatever's going on in their respective jurisdictions. Let's see. LARP, laugh, love. How do you live here for 20 years without getting papers, hiding your past from your home country? Federal minimum wage is $7.25. Your dirt poor wage, and send them all home. By David. Okay.
Tell me how you really
The way that you live in this country for 20 years without ever having to show papers is when you have a completely failed state that does not uphold any semblance of the rule of law.
Well, yeah.
I mean, it's maybe like a trite answer.
But again,
that's the answer.
Again, this isn't about
Not trite. That's a tight answer.
Well, there you go.
this isn't about not enforcing the law. This is about actively subverting the will of the American people.
Yeah.
Our government has been actively working against the American people, or at least the Democrats have, and you could argue the Republicans have, I'm sure, because the Republicans have been a failure at stopping it. But the fact that there have been all these efforts by NGOs using federal dollars that the American people are going to have to account for, whether it be through inflation or through raising taxes, the American people are going to have to deal with this. And it's been the government, the Democrats, using the American people's money to affect the ability of existing Americans' votes to matter. So
Totally right.
let's see. There was something that you just had. Let's see, Mr. Sombra. This is all that remains. Oh, keep up the good work. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Let's see. 4-bar high says all this replacement migration is part of a broader anti-colonialist genocide of Western civilization. Western Europe is the bellwether. We don't have to live this way, and the American people deserve better. I
crushed it. What a
Yeah.
comment. I mean, 4-bar high.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot on with that comment.
Yeah, that really does wrap all of the issues with immigration up pretty well, pretty succinctly. But right now, we're going to have you guys head on over to rumble.com and sign up, become a member, because we're going to go to that after show, the uncensored Rumble exclusive show. We'll head over there in just a few minutes. But let's see. Hold on a second.
Do I have time for a smoke?
Not right now.
No, I mean after this, before the Rumble thing.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, big boy rules, remember? Let's see. Where am I looking for the... 1 second here. So, so Charlie, want to go ahead and shout anything out?
Thanks for having me.
Okay. Where can people find you?
Oh, Charlie LeDuff on X,
Okay.
TheEnjoyer.com, or No Bullshit News Hour, which is a top 200 podcast in America.
Cool. Aaron, where can people find you?
Well, my name's Aaron Wrights. I'm running for Texas Attorney General. Folks can find me at aaronwrights.com, AARONREITZ.com. You can also follow me on X. My handle is at Aaron_Wrights.
REITZ.
That's right, REITZ.
Here we go.
Go subscribe to Pop Culture Crisis on YouTube. We go live every Monday through Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. We're also on Rumble, so go follow us there as well. And you can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived. You can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. I also have a TikTok, but I haven't decided what I want you to send me on there yet. It's also Mary Archived.
I'm Phil That Remains. You can follow me on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. So stick around for the Rumble After Show if you're a Rumble member. If not, we will see you tomorrow for the Culture War in the morning and then IRL in the evening. So we'll see you then.